this wonderful panel of folks from George Fox. We have some former students, some administrators and directors of the program. So we're going to start first by letting them introduce themselves.
Hi guys, my name is Jessica. I graduated George Fox with a mechanical engineering degree.
Hi, I'm Frankie, and I graduated from George Fox with my degree in biomedical engineering.
I'm Brian. I also graduated from George Fox with a civil engineering degree.
I'm Tamara, and I'm part of the Ignite leadership team.
And we'll make Bob and Neil go first. So what inspired the creation of the Ignite program? And are there any moments or stories when you remember you thought, we need something better in place here?
Yeah, absolutely. Like many of you, our goal is to teach, shape, and send students out into the workforce. Faculty really enjoy doing that. That formation process takes time, takes energy and emotion. And while they love doing it, we know as iron sharpens iron, you get sharpened when you work on your relationship with someone else. So it's something they love doing, but there's no time. There's just not enough time for all the students. So it became a matter of a design question. How might we ensure that all our students had an exposure to this kind of formation process?
And I mentioned earlier that the program really was birthed out of the fire conference. Well, we actually started Ignite the year before that workshop. But up until that point, my focus had really been on the student impact side of mentoring. And at the conference, which was just terrific, I would encourage any of you, if you have a chance, if the fire conference comes around again, JD and Chris and Ken really challenged us to think about ways that we could engage with industry in a deeper, more meaningful way. The long process of cultivating relationships with industry that takes a long time, the long game. They also really encouraged us to think of ways that we could create value. What value do we have to bring to industry? And through those exercises, it really all came together for me, and I realized that the Ignite program might be the perfect vehicle for doing both of those things. And I actually left the conference with this thought. I still have it written down. What if every single engineering student in our program had a meaningful 1-year-long mentoring relationship with someone within industry? And I was doing the numbers. And that what if has become a reality. We're now 3 years later, and we've had over 120 industry professionals involved in 1-year mentoring relationships. They represent over 150 different companies. And collectively, they've had over 3,000 one-on-one meetings with students in the last 3 years. So we just have a real culture of engaging them with our program now through the mentoring.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. So for Jessica, can you recall any moments that gave you a new perspective on your future or career, or that changed your thinking about your career?
Yeah. So my mentor, Rayanne, was featured in that video, and it was so cool to hear her talking to me again. One thing that was really cool was she also graduated mechanical engineering, and I think coming into our mentorship, I was like, I've either got to choose design or project management, and I have to do one or the other, and I just felt very much like, as a senior, deciding the rest of your life, you feel like it. And talking with her, it was so cool to see she was interested in the same exact things that I was. She did both design and project management, just kind of a broad view of you can do a lot, you can do a little. She gave me a lot of flexibility and a lot of confidence to know it's okay. You don't have to pick one and stay with it forever. You can incorporate, just hearing more about her job, of how she incorporated design in her project management role. So things like that, where just talking with her and realizing it's not a design class, it's not a project management class, it's not one thing, it's a whole variety, and there's just a lot of flexibility and growth you can do in everything. It was really encouraging.
Yeah, and our next student question is for Frankie. So Frankie, can you share how your interactions with your mentor affected your learning or your confidence in some way?
Yeah, my relationship with my mentor really increased my confidence. I think a theme that you might hear is just being about to graduate from the engineering college of engineering, it's pretty overwhelming. There's so many different possibilities, and you feel like you have to make the right choice right away. In my relationship with my mentor, we got to share each other's stories, not only with our engineering education, but also just our life stories. And building that relationship, what I heard from her is that you don't have to get it right away. Part of her story, she had her first job for 6 months, and it really wasn't a great fit. And so she found the next thing and was extremely happy. There was just such a sense of peace and confidence that, as I was a graduating senior, I was equipped and I was ready to take on all the different possibilities that are out there.
Thank you. So we hear that this impact goes both ways. We have a quote here from Brian's mentor that he has not yet heard, so I'm excited to share. He said, "Mentoring Brian was a joy. Along with providing space for Brian to think through questions in his life, these conversations provided an opportunity for me to reflect on my experiences. I found this reflection would result in challenging myself as well." So Brian, tell us a little bit about how this mentorship experience contributed to your growth and what you think about that quote.
I love John. I think you heard it in the video. Somebody said it's almost more of a friendship than it is a mentorship. So personally, I have John's phone number. I was going through hard times recently, and he texted and reached out. And I definitely feel like I walked away from that Ignite program with a friend, someone I could refer back to over the years. Check in, how you doing? I house sat his dog. I had dinner at his house, which that might not always happen, but for John and I, that happens. And professionally, for me, it actually turned into a job opportunity. I was looking for work in Portland and didn't really like what I saw, and was thinking, maybe this isn't the route to go. And John was the one that mentioned his company was opening an office in Portland, and they were looking for EIT. And I applied, and I got the job, and John ended up being my supervisor for the first year. So personally, a friend, and professionally, it led to a job for me, which is awesome. And I'm not really good at the whole LinkedIn thing and networking out of the blue. And so having a program like Ignite, John's like, "Hey, there's a job opportunity here." I'm, "Oh, that's awesome. What is it?" It's networking, but it's real. It's face-to-face networking. So I know I valued that for sure.
A fun little note I should add here is that Brian's mentor, John Berge, was one of Bob's first students 37 years ago in our program, one of the first engineering class. So that just shows the ecosystem that's going on here.
That is really cool to hear how impact is passed along from person to person. So we're going to shift back to the directors and administrators now. So what have been the other effects of this program from an administrative point of view?
Well, I think you can turn around and see this word impact, and that's what the 3 C's do, and you've all had different experiences how to flesh that out. And the impact that we've seen from the Ignite program is, about the curiosity it creates in our students as they want to inquire and learn from their mentors. And that does go both ways. It's also the connections that are made, and really, this is for I'd say administrators who are trying to re-engage with alumni and develop a sustained relationship, because few of those are going to come back, get a doctorate and teach with you. They maybe do a seminar, but this idea of a sustained relationship. So this, the word alma mater in Latin is nurturing mother. And so the idea that your school was a nurturing mother, that it really drew in and sustained a relationship with those grads, is something that this program is able to do for us. And lastly, creating value. It just really creates value for the program in general, because what you see is our students here who have these relationships that carry forever with them, the life skills that they learned along the way, and a much deeper understanding of what industry is all about.
I'll add to that a little bit. It's probably the single most impactful and meaningful thing that we've been able to provide to our alumni and folks in industry. We'll bring people in to give a lecture, and they love it, but it's maybe like That might happen once every 5 years for that person. But with Ignite, they're having a profoundly impactful experience themselves, and they're contributing back to the next generation in a super meaningful way. And you can just tell by meeting these people how fun that is. And it's actually a significant thing for the mentors. We had a mentor, and I was chatting with him on the phone, and he said he's been in industry for 2 decades. He said, Ignite is the single most meaningful thing I've ever done in my career. And I'm so busy, and we're building out this whole new mill, and I need to cut some things, but I will not cut Ignite. And so it just creates this opportunity, this doorway for these people in industry to start getting more engaged with their companies, senior design, different types of opportunities. It's been pretty profound.
Thank you so much for sharing. That's all amazing. For students, any or all of you, we've heard that the atmosphere at the Ignite events feels transformational and almost magical. So take us back to the reveal when you discovered who your mentor was and met them for the first time. What do you remember thinking and feeling?
So, Neil, I'm sorry, I love you, but I was not convinced. Like, we came in, he had hyped this thing up so much. Neil's really good at like getting people really passionate, and I was like, he's on one of his spurs again. Like, I'm sure it's gonna be cool, but like, there's no way it's gonna be as like impactful as he says it's gonna be. I met Rayanne, and gosh, I felt like we were the same person. I mean, Neil, the pairing job that you did with the two of us, the amount we had in common, just all these various things that I was like, wait, you were Emmy too, and you're interested in all these things, and we even dress similarly, and we both care about our faith, and we want like good work environment, just like all these things. So anyways, we talked for a while. She knew someone from my high school. She lived with them. Anyways, I came back, and I ran into Neil afterwards, and I was like, I don't know if you remember this, but I was like, Neil, I don't know what to say. Like, I didn't think it was possible. I didn't think that it would actually go this well, and I've met her for 20 minutes, and it's the best thing that I've like had this year. So like the whole program does a really fun job of making that reveal like a fun night, and you don't know who's your mentor, and it's all the room of big people, and you're like, who, do they know who I am? Like, this is weird. But I can say like the pairing job that they did and the way they presented it was really fun and incredibly impactful, by the way, like the intentionality they took to pair us together.
I'll piggyback on that. The launch is probably the most significant thing we do programmatically. We bring everyone into the room. So you'll have a room, almost 300 people, and so there's just all this energy. We want to value their time and the commitment, so everything is just top tier. But it's all about relationships, so there's no fluff. It's like there's networking, there's spending time together, but it all is driving towards this moment. It's a little bit like the Grammys, like where everyone gets their envelope and they don't know who their mentor is. It's called the big reveal. And then Neil kind of counts down and he says, okay, open your envelopes. And they tear open their envelope and they pull out the bio sheet and figure out finally who this mentor is going to be. And then the rest of the evening, we say, just go spend time together. So it really is a focus. And Neil and Brandy, our other director for College of Business, they just spend so much time intentionally pairing students with mentors. And that just creates the perfect formula or recipe, really, for a dynamic and meaningful engagement.
During the launch, the dinner portion before the big reveal, the mentors actually know who their students are. Earlier that week, I send them a one-page bio of their students and picture. So they're in the room, and they know who their student is. Maybe they're scouting them out, but the students have no idea who their mentor is yet. So that's what kind of builds up to the fun.
Yeah, and those amazing experiences don't happen by accident. It seems like there's a lot of work and intentionality and thought that goes into creating these experiences. So can you tell me a little bit more about that actual work that goes into creating those experiences, and how do you think the little things affect the big picture?
Well, I'll let Tamara unpack a few things. Just on the pairing side, we just spend a lot of time. It's Sometimes it feels like it's too much, but in not just pulling two names out of a hat and putting them together, we have some surveys we give students and the mentors, and we actually have a really serious vetting process. Maybe it's a selling process, as Jessica said, but we promote Ignite not as for everyone. We'd like every single student to be involved in it, but I do give them kind of a hard sell. We have a high bar for engagement, and we tell the students if they can't step up to these expectations, then Ignite's not for them. We also do that with the mentors. I've talked with industry folks and said, listen, if you have a really busy week and some big important meetings, board meetings, and you're tempted to kind of call my student and say, I can't meet with you, then I said, maybe this program isn't for you. I want you to move your other stuff so that the student relationship takes priority. And it's a little scary to say that to industry folks, but I think it results in a level of buy-in, both on the student side and the mentor side, that is conducive to some of this magic.
Yeah, basically everything we do is about keeping the main thing, and that's the relationship with the mentor and student.
So another question for the directors that some of you may be wondering out there, what challenges did you face in launching and scaling the Ignite program, and how did you overcome those?
Well, the biggest challenge that,
You go.
I've been working for you for 25 years. Can I go first?
Just this once.
Okay. The one challenge that I expected that didn't materialize is I just thought it'd be hard to get the industry folks. In fact, when I applied for the EU fellows, one of the comments I got back from the Key Network is, good luck. You're not going to get buy-in from 80, much less, 100 and something mentors committed to once a month, in-person, face-to-face meetings with their students, which is what the expectation is. It's been the opposite. We now have a problem where I have too many mentors. I got called by a couple this last year that were upset with me because I didn't pair them with anyone. And they said, who's my student? I said, well, we actually don't need you this year. So that challenge didn't materialize. But the biggest one is time. It just takes a lot of time to do this. And fortunately, on our side, I have a dean who recognized that and made space in my life for this. He prioritized it and made a lot of space for it. And then he brought on someone like Tamara to take it to the next level also. I'll let Bob speak to that challenge.
Yeah, and you've heard the word time come up. It was Steve Miller says it keeps slipping into the future. So I mean, you trying to grasp
Aging
time.
yourself.
No, they all get it. How to capture time and really, administrators, it's for your faculty. You know how busy they are. You know that they want to do these things, but you got to get the talent. You got to get the bus loaded with the right people and the right people in the right spots on the bus. And you got to prioritize this. So that's what I did. And I released Neil from some other priorities. Tamara has a job description that goes across 4 colleges at the university that I manage. And I just said, this is a priority. You work with Neil and you guys go. And but it takes intentionality. And again, you can't do everything. So.
If there are any faculty in here that are resonating with this, go to your administrators and pitch it and sell them. We've got materials you'll see later to help you. But if you want to do this, I would push for it. And on the administrator side, we challenge you to make some space for those folks because this is a win-win-win. The students win, industry mentors are winning, and our program is winning. It's just hard to find those things.
And I think the key is that there's not big dollar costs here. We're not asking these people for money, like usually what happens with alumni, and there's not a lot of cost other than the initial reveal thing that we do. But other than that, it's a low-cost way, if you release the right people into this passion, to get a big return. And again, that connection with alumni, everyone struggles with that. And so that's the big win here.
If you're wondering, I know you're all engineers, you love numbers. So we can run the program for about $500 per student. And we've got some sponsors who are really excited to be a part of that. So it's a great opportunity for brand exposure for them, and it's a meaningful program for them to contribute to.
So for our students, you've got a room full of several hundred engineering professors and administrators who may very well be thinking they want to start a program like this. What advice do you have for them?
Yeah, just to reiterate what Bob and Neil have said, the time and intentionality it takes, it's a lot. So if you're unsure about it and you don't, you're like, oh, I could maybe just squeeze it in right here. It's probably not for you. You want to prioritize this thing. And one thing,
Go big or go home
right,
on this one.
always. But it's important. Ignite is important because at George Fox, we're a smaller school, and there's a smaller pool of students, and the teacher to student ratio. So I could go. We did have the Be Known promise. I could go to Neil's office or any of my other professors and talk to them about school or other life things, and that happened all the time. I mean, I don't know how many of your office hours were spent actually talking about schoolwork. Probably not many. But for other universities, that might not be the case. So Ignite is the way to forge those relationships and almost have your own Be Known promise. Where students, I think in the video, they talked about, I can talk to them about life advice and, shaping my career, not just like, oh, I want to be a project manager and then get my license and then be a project manager. It's like, no, how do you balance your having kids and a wife and your work and like those kind of questions. And that's why Ignite is really important. So I would say it is a lot of work. It takes a lot of time, but it's super appreciated by students and it's really, really worth it.
Yeah, agreed. I think the one thing is, please don't be too intimidated by the time that this program takes. It's extremely worth it, just to prepare future professionals and to talk about things that don't necessarily get addressed in your coursework all the time. I think the way that the program was built just also provides for a sort of magic you've heard us say, because each relationship is unique between like the industry professional and the student. And so just the magic that gets to happen is, some relationships, they'll go off for coffee, some will go like bike riding or something. And just like that connection is not restricted to 4 years in your schooling. It's something that can continue to last. And I would even say just the ecosystem as well, like that is really worth it. I would say probably the three of us, we would love to be mentors once our time comes. But just, yeah, I think there's just a lot to consider. So please don't shy away from it. It's a very valuable program.
I think you just led us into the last question, Frank.
You did, great timing. So yeah, we were going to ask, what are you going to say when Neil reaches out and asks you to be a mentor?
By the way, there's a requirement of our mentors to be out in industry for a certain number of years. We like 3 to 5 years, so I'm not coming yet, but I'm coming. You're going to say, but this is on tape. I want this recorded, by the way.
Sorry to spoil the question, but the answer is yes.
Yes, I'd say yes.
100%. Absolutely.
That wasn't scripted, too.
Jess and Brian, are you guys going to move back to Portland because we need face-to-face? Or are you going to fly in monthly for the meetings?
If you
All
pay
right.
for my flights, I will be there.
Let's put these students out of their misery a little bit. This was amazing. Thank you all. So we've really enjoyed hearing about all of this. And in the spirit of amplifying impact, this amazing George Fox team has put together a toolkit of resources and recommendations to use. So we'll put that up on the screen. So as you all are grabbing that QR code, it's also on a card. So we've got the card number up there. Let's give
And I'm
them
sure
all.
that they would be more than willing to talk to you over the next couple of days as well.
Yes.
Well, then let's give them all a hand.